Good morning, students. Hope you are doing great. This is Dr. B. Tulasi, working as Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Vignan Sridhar Institute of Technology and Sciences for Women, Palakaluru. In the last session, we have seen the third unit. The contents of the third unit are Introduction to YAML, Why we model, Conceptual model of the YAML. In the conceptual model of the YAML, we have seen the building blocks of the YAML, rules of the YAML, common mechanisms of the YAML. And next we have seen the architecture. In the architecture, we have seen the 5 views of the YAML. Next we have seen the classes, relationships, common mechanisms, class diagrams and object diagrams. These are the topics which we have covered in the third unit. And in today's session, we are going to discuss about the fourth unit. Coming to the contents of the fourth unit. Today we are going to study about the basic behavioral modeling. And this we are going to discuss about interactions, interaction diagrams, use cases, use case diagrams and activity diagrams. Coming to this session, coming to the next topic, use case diagrams. A use case diagram is a diagram that shows a set of use cases and actors and their relationships. We know that if you consider the class diagram also, we'll be having classes, collaborations, interfaces and the relationship between them. Similarly, in the use cases also, we'll have a set of use cases, actors and the relationships between them. And coming to the common properties, a use case diagram is just a special kind of diagram and shares the same common properties as do all the other diagrams. A name and graphical contents that are a projection into a model. What distinguishes use case diagram from all other kinds of diagrams is its particular content. So coming to the contents of the use case diagram, a use case diagram commonly contains subject. As I told you, subject means a block box, use cases, actors and the relationships like a dependency, generalization and association relationships. Like all other diagrams, use case diagrams may contain nodes and constraints. Use case diagrams may also contain packages, which are used to group elements of your model into larger chunks. Occasionally, you will want to place instances of use cases in your diagrams as well, especially when you want to visualize a specific executing system. Coming to the notation. The subject is shown as a rectangle containing a set of use case ellipses. The name of the subject is placed within the rectangle. The actors are shown as a sticky figures placed outside the rectangle. The names are placed under them. Lines connect actor icons to the use case ellipses with which they communicate. Relationships among use cases are drawn inside the rectangle. So coming to the common uses. You apply use case diagram to model the use case view of a subject, such as a system. The view primarily models the external behavior of the subject, the outwardly visible services that the subject provides in the context of its environment. When you model the use case view of a subject, you will typically apply use case diagrams in one of the two ways. So what are the main uses of using these use case diagrams is, first one, to model the context of a subject. Modeling the context of a subject involves drawing a line around the whole system and asserting with the actors lie outside the subject and interact with it. Here you will apply the use case diagram to specify the actors and the meaning of their roles. Coming to the second one, to model the requirements of a subject. Modeling the requirements of a subject involves specifying what the subject should do, independent of how that subject should do it. Here, you will apply the use case diagrams to specify the desired behavior of the subject. In this manner, a use case diagram lets you view the whole subject as a black box. You can see what outside the subject and you can see how the subject reacts to the things outside. But you can't see how that subject works on the inside. Coming to the common modeling techniques of the use case diagram. The first one is to model the context of the system. Given a system, any system, some things will live inside the system. Some things will live outside the system. For example, in a credit card validation system, you will find such things as accounts, transactions and fraud detection agents inside the system. Similarly, you will find such things as credit card customers, retail institutions outside the system. The things that live inside the system are responsible for carrying out the behavior that those on the outside expect the system to provide. All those things on the outside that interact with the system constitute the system's context. This context defines the environment in which that system lives. In the UML, you can model the context of a system with a use case diagram emphasizing the actors that surround the system. Deciding what to include as an actor is important because in doing so, you specify a class of things that interact with the system. Deciding what not to include as an actor is equally, if not more important, because that constrains the system's environment to include only those actors that are necessary in the life of the system. Coming to model the context of a system, first of all, we need to follow the few steps. First one, identify the boundaries of the system by deciding which behaviors are part of it and which are performed by external entities. This defines the subject. Coming to the second point, identify the actors that surround the system by considering which groups require help from the system to perform their tasks, which groups are needed to execute the system's function, which groups interact with external hardware or other software systems, and which groups perform secondary functions for administration and maintenance. Organize actors that are similar to one another in a generalization-specialization hierarchy. Where it aids understandability, provide a stereotype for each such actor. If you need, you specify with a stereotype. Populate a use case diagram with these actors and specify the paths of the communication for each actor to the system's use case. For example, if you see the figure here, it shows the context of the credit card validation with an emphasis on the actors that surround the system. You will find customers of which there are two kinds, individual customer and the corporate customer. These actors are the roles that the human play when interacting with the system. In this context, there are also actors that represent other institutions such as retail institutions and sponsoring financial institutions, clearinghouse. In the real world, these latter two actors are likely software-intensive systems themselves. This same technique applies to the modeling context of the subsystem. See, if you see the figure here, the same technique applies to modeling the context of the subsystem also. A system at one level of abstraction is often a subsystem of larger system at a higher level of abstraction. Modeling the context of subsystem is therefore useful when you are building a system of interconnected systems. To model the requirements of a system, a requirement is a design feature, property or behavior of a system. When you state a system's requirements, you are asserting a contract established between those things that lie outside the system and the system itself, which declares what you expect that system to do. For the most part, you don't care how the system does. You just care that it does it. A well-behaved system will carry out all its requirements faithfully, predictably and reliably. When you build a system, it's important to start with agreement about what the system should do. Although you will certainly evolve your understanding of those requirements as you iteratively and incrementally implement the system. Similarly, when you are handed a system to use, knowing how it behaves is essential to using it properly. Requirements can be expressed in various forms, from unstructured text to expressions in a formal language and everything in between. So coming how to model the requirements of a system. So for this, the main important steps are establish the context of the system by identifying the actors that surround it. So next, coming to the second point. For each actor, consider the behavior that each expert requires the system to provide. Name these common behaviors as use cases. Factor common behavior into new use cases that are used by others. Factor variant behaviors into new use cases that extend mainline flows. Model these use cases, actors and their relationships in a use case diagram. Add on these use cases with the nodes or constraints that assert non-functional requirements. You may have to attach some of these to the whole system. if you see the figure here, it expands on the previous use of use cases, although it aligns the relationship among the use cases and the use cases. It adds additional use cases that are somewhat invisible to the average customer and are essential behaviors of the system. This diagram is valuable because it offers a common starting place for the end users, domain experts and developers to visualize, specify, construct and document their decisions about the functional requirements of the system. Here, detect card fraud is a behavior important to both the retail institutions and the sponsoring financial institutions. Similarly, report on the account status is another behavior required by the system by various institutions in this context. So if you see the figure here, the block box indicates a credit card validation system. Here we are having different customers, retail institutions, sponsoring institutions. Here some of the non-software systems that are considered as the actors, and the systems, the use cases which are inside the credit card validation are the use cases. So this tells about the requirements of the system. The requirement model by the use case management network outage is a bit different from all the others because it represents a secondary behavior of the system necessary for its reliable and a continuous operation. This is regarding the requirements of the system. Coming to the forward and reverse engineering, most of the UMLs, other diagrams including class, component and state diagrams are clear candidates for forward and reverse engineering because each has an analogous executable systems. Use case diagrams are a bit different in that they reflect rather than specify the implementation of the system, subsystem or class. Use cases describe how an element behaves, not how that behavior is implemented. So it can be directly forward or reverse engineered. We know that forward engineering means it is the process of transforming the model into code through a mapping into an implementation language. Here a use case diagram can be forward engineered to form tests for the element to which it applies. So this is regarding the forward engineering, and to forward engineer a use case diagram, first of all we need to identify the objects that interact with the system, try to identify the various roles that each external object may play. Next, make up an actor to represent each distinct interaction role. Next, for each use case in a diagram, identify the flow of events and its exceptional flows. We already discussed what is the flow of events and exceptional flows in the use cases. If you can't understand here, then go back to the use cases and you can listen there. Depending on how deeply you choose the generated test script for each flow, using a flow preconditions as a test initial state and a post conditions as the success criteria. As necessary, generate test scaffolding to represent each actor that interacts with the use case. Actors that push information to the elements and are acted on by the element may either be stimulated or substituted by the real world equivalent. Last point is, you have done all the things. Now use the tools to run these tests each time you release the element to which the use case diagram applies. This is regarding the forward engineering. Coming to the reverse engineering, it is a process of transforming code into model. To automatically reverse engineering a use case diagram is currently beyond the state of art, simply because there is a loss of information when moving from specification of how an element behaves to how it is implemented. Coming to the steps, here we need to identify each actor that interacts with the system. For each actor, consider the manner in which the actor interacts with the system, changes the state of the system or its environment or responds to some event. Next, trace the flow of events in the executable system relative to each other. Start with the primary flows and only later consider the alternative paths. Cluster related flows by declaring a corresponding use case. Consider modeling variants using extend relationships and consider modeling common flows by applying include relationships. Already we have seen what is meant by extend and include relationships in the use cases. Render these actors and use cases in a use case diagram, establish their relationships. This is how you can do the reverse engineering. So this is regarding the use case diagrams. So in the use case diagrams, we have seen about what are the requirements and reverse engineering, forward engineering, and how to model the behavior of the system. So these are the common modeling techniques in the use case diagrams. Next, coming to recap. Let's have a quick recap about the topics which we have discussed so far. In this unit 4, we have discussed about the basic behavioral diagrams, in which we have discussed about the interactions, In the interactions, we have seen about what is an interaction, what are the messages and the links, and how to use the stereotypes while using the links. And we have seen about the sequence diagram. In the sequence diagram, we have discussed about the lifeline and focus of the control. Coming to the collaboration diagram, we have discussed about the links and the sequence number. We came to know that sequence diagram and collaboration diagram are semantically equivalent and isomorphic. And we have seen the common modeling techniques of interactions. In the interactions, we have seen only one common modeling technique, that is to model the flow of control. Next, coming to the interaction diagrams. In the interaction diagrams, we have gone in detail about the sequence diagrams and the collaboration diagrams. Both are semantically equivalent and both are isomorphic, but they are not representing the same information. Okay. Coming to the common modeling techniques of interaction diagrams, we have seen two common modeling techniques. To model the flow of control by time ordering, and second one is to model the flow of control by organization. So these are the two common modeling techniques we have discussed in the interaction diagrams. Next, we have seen about the use cases. And we came to know that use case is used to represent the scenarios or set of the sequences. And next, coming to the common modeling techniques of the use cases, these are used to represent the behavior of the elements. And next, we have seen about the use case diagrams. In the use case diagrams, we have discussed about the relationships such as generalization, extend, and include. And coming to the common modeling techniques of use case diagrams, we have discussed about the modeling the requirements of a system, and next is modeling the context of a system. And coming to the last interaction diagram, which we have discussed in this basic behavioral modeling, is activity diagram. So here we have seen about what is an activity, what are the activity states, and we have seen about the swim lanes, and these are the different topics which are new to us. We have discussed all these things. And coming to the common modeling techniques of activity diagrams, we have discussed about how to model the time constraint and how to model the distribution of objects. That's what we have seen in this basic behavioral modeling. And this is regarding a quick recap regarding the unit 4. Next, coming to the important topic, that is interesting one also, that is quiz. And by seeing these quiz questions, you will understand how you are clear about the topics. So let me start the quiz. First question. Dash are used to model the dynamic aspects of collaboration. Coming to the options, sequence diagram, and structural, interactions, D messages. So the answer is interactions. Coming to the second question, interaction diagrams are of dash types. So options are 1, 2, 3 and 4. So interaction diagrams exist in two forms. One is a sequence diagram, second one is a collaboration. Dash diagrams permit you to model the lifetime of an object. So if you want to tell about the lifetime of an object, which diagram is used? So sequence diagram, collaboration, state chart, activity. So we know that lifetime can be represented by using the lifeline of an object. That can be represented in the sequence diagram. And dash shows an interaction consists of a set of objects and their relationships, including messages. So options are interaction, class, use case, activity. So it is telling about the interaction, objects and their relationships, that is none other than interaction diagrams. Next question. The behavior of a system is modeled using class diagram, activity diagram, use case diagram, interaction diagram. This can be done by using the use case diagram. That's what we have seen in the while telling about the architecture of the UML also. We have seen about the 5 views. In that, one of the view is use case view. In that, it tells about the behavior of the system. In an activity diagram, organizing the activities into groups is called options: forking, joining, swim lanes, synchronization. Option C, swim lane. Dash is used to represent concurrent flows in an activity diagram. The options are slide bar, synchronization bar, swim lane, branch. The answer is synchronization bar. Coming to the next question. Executable atomic computations are called A. Action states, activity states, composite states, concurrent states. The answer is action states. Activity diagram is a special kind of dash. Use case diagram, state chart diagram, interaction diagram, component diagram? The answer is state chart diagram. Which of the following diagram view the whole system as a block box? So, class diagram, activity diagram, use case diagram, interaction diagram. So, block box, that is nothing but use case diagram. Actors are connected to the use cases only by association relationship, generalization, realization, dependency. We have already discussed this, that is association. Forward engineering is the process of translating dash options model to model, code to model, model to code, code to code. That is model to code. Dash relationship between use cases means the base use case explicitly incorporates the behavior of another use case at a location specified in the base. The options are exclude, extend, include, abstract. The answer is include. So, these are the few questions which we have covered in the basic behavioral modeling, and if you can answer these questions, you understood the class well. If you have any doubts, go back and play the video. Okay, if you think that I am going a little bit fast, then play the video slowly. Hope you people know about it. If you don't have any idea, just go to the settings symbol on the video, click on playback speed, then customize the speed according to your need. Thank you so much. Let's meet in the next session with the Unit 5. Till then, have a safe day. Follow SMS. SMS means sanitizers, masks and social distancing. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.